Oh, breaking news, baby. Breaking news. It ain't gonna be breaking for everybody else. They gonna be, man, we already know they hate him. All right, well, according to the people I've talked to today, bet you didn't know this, though. Paul George is not going anywhere. Yeah, that's the news I got today. Paul George isn't going anywhere. And neither is Kawhi Leonard. And those two are the only protected players on the list. Everybody else could get traded. Now, that was shocking when I heard that. That Paul George is protected. I was very shocked. But come to find out that I'm like, why wouldn't Trez be protected? Trez is not going anywhere either. But they have a problem. Trez and Paul George don't like each other. Neither does Pat Bev. They don't like Paul George. Lou Williams don't like Paul George. It's a lot of players on the team that don't like Paul George. And he stood up in the exit meeting and spoke to the team. He gave his speech about he want to come back and compete next year, for a title. And they just saw like, they really didn't care for Paul George. Earlier in this season, this happened earlier in the season. There was a rift back when they were losing games and they kept turning the ball over. They say Paul George have mental collapses on the court where he just gets lethargic when making passes and turning over the ball. This happened in a regular season game earlier in the year. And when it happened, things were addressed. Things had happened and things had changed. They worked it out. They were all cool, it was understanding. Then one day after a game, Trez blows a layup. They lose the game. And he says, see, big fella, it happens to everybody. Just take onus. Own up to it, and you'll be all right. Don't worry about it. He was like, what? Like, what did you talk about? Like, there was no previous conversation that took place to make him even come up there and say that. But it was like he was glad Trez missed the shot so he could have something to say to Trez. Paul George has an attitude problem. A lot of people on the team believes. He's quick to jump down everybody else's throat to tell other people what they need to do. But when the minute you tell him what he needs to do, he immediately corrects you to let you know it wasn't his fault. There's always a magical excuse as to what's going on with Paul. So when Paul was talking about he was going through mental depression and all this during his bad playoff run, the players is in the locker room. It's like, man, that's bull. You see this dude, man? He can't take onus for nothing. He can't admit to nothing. Now he blaming mental illness. So his own teammates, outside of Kawhi Leonard, were dumping on him as he was making this excuse for why he was playing bad. They think he's soft. So Trez called him out and said, oh, you think you always right. This was in game 2 of the NBA, the second round, in the Western Conference second round. Game 2, they have a big fallout and the timeout in the huddle. They have a big argument in the back. Paul George and Trez yelling back and forth at each other. They don't like each other. And I don't know how that's going to coexist. But I told Paul George is going to be back next year. Whether he remains or how long he remains with the team, I don't know. But they telling Paul George is going to be back next year. Like, don't expect Paul George to go nowhere. I'm like, all right, Paul George ain't going nowhere. Thanks. So now, if Paul George isn't going anywhere, where's everybody else going? Somebody's gonna have to be moved here. I don't think Reggie Jackson will be with the team, but then again, I don't know. Reggie didn't really lose this playoffs. He was just filling in until Pat Bev came in here. Pat wanted to play more in the fourth quarter. You know, it is what it is there with that, and his foul troubles and things of that nature. But when he's in the game in the deciding times, he normally changes the energy level on the team. And him not being in the game in these clutch moments have proved, costly to the team when they needed his energy level out there on the court. And it's a lot of other players felt that, Pat Bell should have been out there too. A lot of players are not vibing with Doc because Doc didn't do anything to diffuse it as a head coach. You would expect the head coach to take the proper precautions and steps and say, okay, this is the steps we're going to make to, address the problem. But he did not do it. Doc just sat there like, I'm just keep sucking up my money. They gonna probably turn this thing on over to Ty Lue. Lou, you woke? Yeah, wake up. Yeah, they talking about giving you my job, nigga. So Doc sitting over there on the sideline, just letting everything go and riding on the back of Kawhi. Everybody's riding on Kawhi. Kawhi injured his knee again. It swelled up on him, and he lost a lot of his spring. He couldn't accelerate, and he couldn't really push the way he could earlier in the series. He hurt it, I believe, in the second game. It's either the second or third game after they were up 3-1, and then he re-aggravated it in like game 5 or game 6, and that made him take more jump shots than going to the rim, but he never made an excuse for it. Unlike Lebron out there with something, man, look at my wrist. I got a hand injury. Yeah, it happened in game 1, and yeah, that's why I got this on. Oh my goodness. That's your guy. So, anyhow, Paul George is sitting there on this team, and no Clipper fan wants him. There have been trade rumors. See, the thing is, the Clippers have already given up a King's Palace to acquire Paul George. They spent more getting Paul George than they did Kawhi Leonard. So, trying to get something of equal value is going to be hard. Now, Paul George can still defend. He's a great regular season player. He's a guy that can put up some numbers. It's just that when the playoffs come, it's something in his mind that doesn't click and he can't put it together. It's like DeMar DeRozan. They can't. They get to the playoffs and they fade. It's like they don't even want to make the playoffs because they don't want to deal with that pressure. Some people can't handle that pressure. And I don't know what it is psychologically or what's going on, but to me, it's terrible. Mm. Wow. People are texting me right now, but it's crazy. So right now, everybody is on the block. Lou Williams is on the block. Lou problem is focus. His report on every team he's ever played on is they just don't think he's a team guy. He's always been a Lou Williams guy, and it's all about Lou. He was in the middle of the series. He's in the locker room having a discussion about trademarking the lemon pepper lube so he can make these t-shirts and sell them. In the middle of a doggone conference finals game, this was his concern. He's on there talking with his managers and agents about how the process is going so he can get lemon pepper lube, and he gonna make t-shirts and try to sell them. In the middle. Oh my God. So the Clippers have a lot of problems to, address as far as going in the next season. To the amount of talent they got is incredible, but getting all that talent to buy into where they're supposed to go, and that's winning a championship and thinking team and championship, that's a lot of bonding and getting these people together to do, especially when the league did not pick you to get in the way. So that's where you at right now. You're faced with an NBA, a league that did not choose you. They did not say, "Hey, we want this group here. We want this guy here." They did not make that the narrative. So because of it, they chose LeBron. And because they chose the chosen one, this idiot who went and got witness tattooed on his leg, chosen one on his back, whatever Nike thing they come up with, that's what you gonna do? Gosh, this guy has no brains. All ego. Now, I might have been a little hasteful, but never, ever has I been wasteful. Now, here's the thing. Paul. Paul George is the type of guy I can't trust in the NBA Finals. I can't trust him in a Western Conference Finals. I can't trust Paul George to do anything but to show up and lose. So, what I want to do is to get rid of the Paul George notion altogether. Now, how are we going to do that, you might say? Well, I think it's pretty simple. You got to move him. Paul George has to be moved. There's no way, shape, or form he should be back on the team next year. It's not going to get better. This is not about camaraderie. He has a mental thing in his gene that shuts down, and he can't score more than 5, 6, 7 points in a game when you're supposed to be a guy. He got to go. Gotta go. He got to go. He's going to die eventually. He's ruling for Kawhi Leonard, literally. We cannot have him in there. He just only going to bring misery. They should have never lost to the Denver Nuggets. Never. Never, ever lost to the Denver Nuggets. That shouldn't have happened. Mm, mm, mm. Should have never happened. Mm. I'm a little shocked right now. I just got word that people that's like family to us, I just met, they just lost their mother last year. And, you know, tough as it was, You know, they just lost their big brother, you know, and my heart goes out to Coco and his family. So that threw my energy level off in this video, you know, getting hit with that information. So I'm gonna roll out, you know, and get out of here, man. Yeah, life is short, man. You never know. Gone by COVID-19. I thought he was getting better. I'm saying, gotta take things seriously, man. Hmm. All right. Don't forget the Cash App's Carcino. You can support the page if you like. You can hit the like button if you like. Subscribe if you like. We, you know, appreciate all of it. Hit the notification bell. I get out of here, man.